Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 31 of the Hammer Territory podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Wednesday afternoon, not our normal time slot, a little bit earlier than usual, and I am joined, as I often am, by Scott Coleman. Scott, it was a pretty good start to this week for the Braves, and actually a really good week overall for the Braves.
Hey, Brad, a sweep for the Braves, which they have not done in quite some time, and really just an impressive couple of games now going back to the weekend. Of course, you win 2 out of 3 against Tampa. You wrapped up that series in Baltimore with a win, and now sweeping a pretty decent Detroit Tigers team that has some pretty good pitching. So it feels like the Braves are finally hitting their groove and really closed out the series on Wednesday in a nice way, beating Tarek Skubal, one of the best arms in all of baseball.
Yes, that's absolutely right. And to your point, the first sweep for Atlanta of more than 2 games, what I would say is a full series sweep since they did so to the Miami Marlins back in April. So it's been a while. We should stop here and just say that we are part of the Foul Territory network of podcasts. Check them all out, including the flagship at Foul Territory. And please subscribe to this show. We cover the Atlanta Braves 4 times a week or so, sometimes more than that. And also already have 2 episodes already this week, including one that you and I did on Sunday. And then also Sean and Steven, our usual co-hosts, talked on Monday evening. But yeah, plenty to get to on this one. Very upbeat. I think we were a little bit more positive than we had been for a while on the Sunday show when you and I last talked. And then, again, when you go out and win 3 games since then, obviously the vibes continue to be much, much better. And the Braves are now 41-31 on the year, which just sounds a lot better. I don't know about you, Scott. That nice little round number of being 10 games over 500 in the middle of June is much better than not being that far over.
Oh, yeah. And the National League has just this very clear divide with the top 4, with Philly, LA, Milwaukee, and Atlanta. And then everybody else. There's this giant glut of teams in the National League that, I think every team except for Miami and Colorado is within 2 or 3 games of the final wild card spot. If you want to know what the next couple of months are going to be like for a playoff chase, it's going to be pretty crazy in the National League. But yes, the vibes are significantly better today than they were a week ago. And, the Braves are just finding ways to win games. We're going to talk about Tuesday and Wednesday's games here in a moment. But, you look at the Monday and Tuesday wins, and both games were 2-1. And you can imagine the reaction if the Braves would have lost those games after only scoring a total of 4 runs. It really is amazing how winning cures all, and they deserve a lot of credit for kind of scratching and clawing their way to 2 wins on Monday and Tuesday when the lineup wasn't great. And then they came up in a big way on Wednesday afternoon to get the sweep.
Yeah, the offense coming alive on Wednesday certainly helps to quell some of the concerns from earlier in the week. To your point, our worthy colleagues, Steven and Sean, talked about Monday's game, so we'll kind of breeze past that and talk about Tuesday's game first off. So that was win number 5 in 6 games. Of course, they've now won 6 of 7 overall, and the second straight 2-1 victory. The offense was not good in that game. In fact, they scored all 2 of their runs in the first inning, and they essentially just did nothing after that, which was not the best, but whatever it takes. And I have to ask you this. I think probably the headliner pretty clearly of Tuesday's game was the performance of Spencer Schwellenbach, who I know got off to a kind of, I wouldn't say a rocky start, not the best start in the world when he first got called up, but he settled in pretty nicely, and the Braves are rolling with him, and he pitched very well on Tuesday.
Schwellenbach has been really impressive, and it feels like he is going to finally bring some stability to the 5th spot in the rotation. Kind of a crazy stat here. Since Spencer Strider went down with his injury that first week of the year, the Braves were 5-10 in games started by 5th and 6th starters in the rotation. And Schwellenbach pitched really well on Tuesday. He, of course, got them that 5th win. And you look at not only his numbers on the whole, they're fine. His ERA is a little inflated. It's just below 5, but a 3.98 FIP and a 4.22 xFIP are encouraging. He's thrown 12 innings against Baltimore and Detroit in his last 2 starts, only gave up a total of 3 runs. And you look at Schwellenbach's underlying numbers and his numbers on Baseball Savant, and he is in the 100th percentile in chase rate. He's in the 98th percentile in barrel rate, and he's in the 82nd in exit velocity. So even when he is giving up a little bit of contact, he's not getting hit hard, which is very encouraging, getting a ton of swing and miss. It's just across the board. It feels like he has a real chance to stabilize this rotation on the back end. And it's hard to not be impressed where it feels like every time he's gone out there, every 5 or 6 days, he's getting a little better. And that's obviously encouraging, especially as teams start to get more video of him and more advanced scouting reports. It feels like sometimes you see young guys come out and get off to a great start, and then the league makes adjustments, and then it goes south in a hurry. It feels like he's getting better, and that's encouraging for the Braves. And I would imagine that now moving forward, Schwellenbach has a pretty strong hold on the fifth spot in the rotation.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way. And there was a little bit of surprise. I don't know if you saw some of that reaction that I did when he kind of struggled out of the gate, that they didn't kind of pivot away from him, but they stood firm. And they're not going to go away from him now after the way he's pitched the last two starts, as you laid out there. And the underlying numbers are really encouraging. Obviously, you in a perfect world, if someone like Max Fried had a 4 FIP and a 4.2 xFIP, no one would be doing cartwheels. But as we regularly say on the show, and would again say now, your fifth starter, if you're getting a round number, let's just say an ERA, FIP, xFIP around 4, you will take that and you will run, especially with given the Braves injury stuff and the loss of Strider, et cetera.
Oh,
Getting
yeah.
that it from Schwellenbach is more than enough. And it still remains to be seen if they're going to go with another starter to fill the sixth spot, which, of course, has been vacated now by Hurston Waldrop, who went on the IL, and that was discussed by Steven and Sean. But Schwellenbach seems to be written in pen, at least for a little while. And it feels to me like it would take more than one poor start for him to not stay in the mix, either injury or I would say probably multiple shaky starts.
Yeah, I would agree entirely. He has done a nice job working into games. You mentioned he's gone 6 innings in both of his last two starts, which is valuable, especially with the young guys. The last thing that Brian Snitker wants to do is have to walk out to the mound in the third inning
Yeah.
and pull him because he just can't. He's at 85 pitches through 3 innings because he can't throw a strike. The command has been really good for Schwellenbach. And, you talked about the fifth and sixth starter. The Braves are going to come up on a pretty lengthy stretch of games here. They're off on Thursday, but then they're about to play 23 games in the next 24 days before the All-Star break. So I'm curious to see if the Braves are going to try to bring somebody up, maybe a Bryce Elder to be a sixth starter for a week or two. Like, I know there's a never-ending debate about utilizing the sixth starter, and we don't have to go down that rabbit hole. But at the very least, I think you have to be encouraged by what Schwellenbach's been able to do. And those underlying numbers that we talked about speak for themselves. Again, not giving up hard contact, not walking people. Overall, it's hard not to be encouraged by what he's done through 4 starts.
That's absolutely right. And we will dive in to the game on Wednesday, which was much more breezy, much more exciting, more runs, less runs allowed, all that fun stuff. But first, Scott's going to tell you about the folks at SeatGeek.
SeatGeek is the official ticketing marketplace of Major League Baseball. They have you covered for all of your baseball ticket needs with more than 28 million downloads and the #1 rated ticketing app. There are more than 70,000 events listed at SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, theater events, and much more. Baseball season is in full swing, and you do not want to miss out on any of the action. They have your tickets to every single game on SeatGeek, and that, of course, includes the Braves, whether they're at home in Atlanta or on the road. I've used SeatGeek in the past for Braves tickets, and the experience could not have been better. They put all the tickets across the web in one place to make sure that you were getting the best possible deal every single time. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10 at SeatGeek, so keep an eye out for those green dots as well as the best values to steer you in the right direction. Every ticket at SeatGeek is backed by their buyer guarantee, and SeatGeek is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps. We have a pretty great promotion for you guys where you can use our code HAMMER for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Again, $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek with promo code HAMMER. Make sure you click the link in our podcast description to download the SeatGeek app today. And one more time, promo code HAMMER for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek.
Okay, Scott, let us dive back into Wednesday's game. And briefly, I would just say it's 7-0 victory is kind of what you would draw up. And I'm not sure how much you were paying attention to the betting markets coming into the series. Actually, Wednesday's game was at least the perceived least likely game for the Braves to win comfortably because they were facing Skubal, who is obviously not a huge name to more, non-American League observers, but a guy who had been firmly in the American League Cy Young mix this early in the season, had incredible numbers, and the Braves did not care about that at all. They basically blasted him and never looked back. They scored 5 runs in the first 4 innings, and that was the end of that. So, what did you make of that? And of course, we have to get to Sean Murphy, who I know you and I have defended. I know Stevens defended quite a bit, but he was the star of the day on Wednesday.
Yeah, very on brand for the Braves to only score 4 runs combined Monday and Tuesday, and then just beat up on Tarek Skubal, a very legitimate Cy Young contender in the American League. Mentioned 5 runs in only 4 innings. They really got to him. And even though they put up the five, I mean, it could have been 7 or 8 or 9 runs if they would have come up with another hit with runners on base. Seemingly every inning, the Braves had a threat going. Sean Murphy, a huge 2-run homer. Ramon Laureano also homered, which was good to see. Feels like he is going to probably start most of the time against left-handed starters. And we've talked about Laureano a bit on the show. Somebody who hits the ball hard, maybe a flawed player at this point in his career. He is not an everyday guy. He has some holes in his game, but really good to see the bats beat up on Skubal and then the Detroit bullpen. And anytime you can pick up a 7-0 win, it's just one of those easy wins. The Braves did not have to dip into their regulars in the bullpen. And going into an off day, it's really nice to give everybody kind of a more relaxed win compared to, one where you really have to fight and claw.
Yeah, for sure. And a breezy victory is always what you want. And it helps that Sean Murphy hits 2 home runs in the same game and goes 4 for 4. Obviously, we've kind of talked about Murphy's struggles relatively. I pushed back a little bit on a previous show about, there's this narrative that he had this terrible second half, quote unquote, of last year, which really it wasn't true. It was September, essentially only. He was pretty good before that. And this year he's been banged up. But his numbers don't look good this year. We all kind of acknowledge that. But he had like a 50 spot a 50 point, I should say, WRC plus jump in one game. Obviously, that's because of small sample size and how good he was in this game. But it's a reminder, if you needed one on this Wednesday afternoon, that Sean Murphy is quite good when he is right and healthy and playing. That was nice to see. I mean, you have anything else to add about Sean Murphy? I feel like we just kind of know he's. I hesitate to use the word star because people kind of recoil at that. I've found with regard to Sean Murphy, but he has been a star for most of the last several years. And I'm not saying he's going to always do what he did on Wednesday, but it was just good to see as a nice little comfort.
Yeah, he needed a day like this. He has hit the ball pretty well over the last week or so, including that should have been home run in Baltimore. That would have been a 3-run homer, and Camden Yards got the best of him. Had a handful of line drives against Tampa Bay over the weekend, and then 4 for 4, 2 homers. I mean, one of the hits was a single. It maybe could have been a double if he really had to bust it, but the game was effectively out of hand at this point. So he continues to hit the ball well. Seems like he's getting good extension, really likes that ball out and away from him to drive to center field. You just have to be encouraged by Murphy. And man, we've seen that Austin Riley has awoken. If we can get Sean Murphy going on top of Ozuna and Olson, and Jared Kelnick has done a great job in the leadoff spot. He was in that leadoff spot again today, even though it was against a lefty. We know that guys like Duvall and Laureano can hit left-handed pitching. It's really a good sign if Murphy can get going because sure, maybe the close to his 2023 was not what we were hoping for. But this dude was awesome in the first half of last season. We know what he can do. He was quite good with Oakland, and let's hope that's just kind of another big step in the right direction for him.
Yeah, and you mentioned Riley. It's been well chronicled, but 2 more hits today for Austin. He now, I think, is like, yeah, I'm looking at it now, a 104 WRC plus for the season, which is not where you want Austin Riley to be, but that's a huge jump from where he was just a week ago. He has been tearing the cover off the ball, as Sean and Steven discussed, even more so on Monday. But if you missed that, number one, listen to it. But number two, Austin has been out of his mind now for almost a week, and that's been good to see him kind of be himself again. That's kind of the offensive story from Wednesday afternoon on the way to 7 runs. But, that zero is always a very helpful thing to have on the scoreboard in the opposing team run column. And Ronaldo Lopez is just, what are you supposed to say about Ronaldo Lopez? 5 scoreless innings again today. He wasn't probably his absolute best, but his ERA now, as you pull and add into our document, is a measly 1.57. Scott, that's sounds made up in mid-June for a guy who's made every scheduled start along the way.
Just so impressive with Ronaldo Lopez. And I mean, what like you said, what more can we say? He continues to get strikeouts. He continues to hit the upper 90s with his fastball when he needs it, which is really impressive. It's probably a throwback to his days in the bullpen where he was regularly hitting upper 90s. He hasn't quite been that guy, as we all kind of suspected as a starter, but knowing that he has 98 or 99 in his back pocket whenever he needs it, he had a tremendous strike three looking in the fifth inning today against Mark Canha when he got into a little bit of trouble and just dotted a 99 fastball on the outside corner to get out of really one of the few jams that Detroit was able to get against him. A 1.57 ERA through 13 starts, the lowest ERA for a Brave starter through 13 starts since Tom Glavine in 2002. Now, that guy, Tom Glavine, Hall of Famer, one of the maybe 15 best pitchers of all time, maybe top 20. I mean, really just, it is remarkable that the Braves were able to identify Lopez and get this out of him so far. I mean, what else can we say, Brad?
Yeah, anytime you're in the same breath as Tom Glavine, that's usually a good sign. And once you're talking about his rookie season where he wasn't very good, but basically every moment after that, Hall of Famer is a firm sentiment there. So obviously he's not going to be Tom Glavine, I don't think. But hey, keep it going, Ronaldo. We're all that would be appreciated by everybody that's observing the Braves on a daily basis. And by the way, you note this, and I'm gonna hand it off to you. But Aaron Bummer has been very good. I know Steven had a kind of semi-viral tweet about Aaron Bummer in the last couple of days, but Aaron Bummer is like quite good, and I think people for some reason haven't found that out yet or haven't caught up to that yet. And I think it's because of the slow start, but yeah, shed some light on Aaron Bummer because he's been awesome recently.
First impressions can be hard to shake. And to be honest, Aaron Bummer's start was not great with the Braves. Gave up 4 runs in Philly in his second appearance with the team. And that's something that can kind of linger in the back of your mind. But this dude has been awesome. Really, on the whole, even with the slow start, his numbers are really strong. And since the slower start, I mean, you're looking at a reliever here with a 2.4 ERA and FIP. He gets a lot of strikeouts. He gets a lot of ground balls. He has been, I tweeted as much on Wednesday. He has been a great addition to the pitching staff. And Alex Anthopoulos and his team really did smash the offseason in terms of pitching, adding Chris Sale, adding Ronaldo Lopez, adding Aaron Bummer, bringing back Joe Jimenez and Pierce Johnson, and eventually Jesse Chavez. I mean, that those all 6 of those arms have been huge for the Braves this season. And maybe some fans have caught on to how good Aaron Bummer has been, but we did want to give him a shout out. And Brad, we also want to give Grant Holmes a shout
Oh
out.
yeah.
A perfect ninth inning. I think he threw all of like 7 pitches. We absolutely love to see that when the team is up 7-0 and ready for a day off. So the legend of Grant Holmes growing by the day, a very breezy ninth inning. And overall, man, just good vibes with this team right now, which is encouraging considering they have a huge series against the Yankees coming up.
Yeah, Grant Holmes, we mentioned his lettuce on the previous podcast on Sunday, but I believe it's now 4 career innings and no runs. That's all you can ask for a guy who was just added to the roster kind of out of nowhere. I know you mentioned being a sucker for that kind of story on Sunday. I definitely agree with you, and a nice little way to round things out in the sweep before the off day on Thursday. Okay, Scott, we do have more to get to with regard to some new stuff on AJ Minter and Ian Anderson, plus, as you just laid out, a preview of sorts about the weekend series against the Yankees. But first, a word from our friends at AG about AG1 from our friends at Foul Territory.
Eric Kratz here from FT. I'm a former athlete that really pays attention to his routine. And AG1 every morning before my workouts is something that gets my day going.
Hey, Braun here. AG1 is a foundational nutrition supplement that delivers daily nutrients and gut health support, and it's backed by multiple research studies so you can trust what you're putting in your body.
Unlike other products which only test their ingredients in isolation, AG1 tests their formula as a whole.
Ready for this stat? 97% of people in a research study felt more energy after 30 days of drinking AG1. If I had to recommend one product to support whole body health, it's AG1, and that's why FT is excited to have them as a new partner. Starting your journey with AG1 is a win. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3, K2, and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase at drinkag1.com/foul. That's drinkag1.com/FOUL. Go check it out, FT fam.
Okay, Scott, let us quickly check off some news here around AJ Minter and Ian Anderson. both injury related, both kind of return related. AJ is scheduled to pitch in rehab fashion on Saturday in Rome. I know we kind of speculated, not that he would be able to definitely come back, but because he was eligible to return earlier this week, I was just thinking aloud, like maybe he can come back. He's not that close, it seems like. And honestly, the reason because of that was because I guess the hip issue was kind of serious with AJ Minter. What do you make of that? And also, everybody's keeping an eye on him because, as we've always said, he's quite good. So when he's back and healthy, the bullpen is much stronger.
Yeah, it'll be great to get AJ back in the bullpen mix. Currently it's just Bummer and Dylan Lee from the left side. So getting that third lefty is going to be very valuable. And, we talked about AJ was probably pitching through an injury earlier this year that he shouldn't have been pitching through because I don't know if you caught these quotes that Minter told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, but his quote was, quote, "It's kind of hard to throw when you can't use your legs the way you want to," end quote. I would agree. I've never been a major league pitcher, but I can only imagine what that's like.
You haven't been?
And yeah, yeah. I mean, generally you need your legs to be able to pitch well. And another addition to that article, it was called the left hip impingement, and that occurs when there is, quote, abnormal alignment of and contact. Let me start that over. There is abnormal alignment between the contact of the bones that form the ball and socket of the hip joint. Brad, that sounds pretty painful. I don't know
Yeah,
how
no,
you would.
no, thank you would be about what I would say to that. I pass.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how you would like pitch, let alone just like walk or go up a flight of stairs with that. So I'm glad that AJ is feeling better. If anyone is in the area, it sounds like he is going to pitch on Saturday, as well as all goes well between now and then with the Rome Emperors. And it's only going to help the bullpen. We know how good AJ is when he's been healthy, and I would imagine maybe early next week the Braves would add him to the mix.
You would hope so. And obviously, if there's any changes there, we'll touch on them at some point on the podcast the next few days. But that is the plan from what the Braves have said and what's been reported. So keep an eye on that. Ian Anderson pitched in real life professional baseball on Tuesday in the Florida Complex League. He, by all accounts, I did not watch the start, but he did look good. And the people that I trust to evaluate him that did watch the start said he pitched very well. Look, it's 2 innings, 27 pitches. Like it's not that crazy of a sample size, but he hasn't pitched in a very, very, very long time. And obviously, he is a big name. He was once one of their promising prospects. He is a little older now, but he's still not that old for a guy who's been around for a long time. And, while I would caution, I guess more so like encourage caution from people, assuming he's going to be back and better than ever, it's just a good data point as he returns.
Yeah, I think with Ian, there has to be some guarded optimism. As you said, a pitcher who has not pitched in quite some time competitively. Really, it was the fall of 2022 was the last time Ian was pitching regularly, had Tommy John in April of 23, and is now on the recovery path about 14 months removed from that surgery. It was encouraging to see his velocity was strong by all accounts. He was sitting around 93 to 95. And I mean, pitching in the FCL is about as low as it gets for domestic minor league pitching, but nonetheless, a good step for Ian. I know I saw some people talking about him being an impact addition for the second half. I think we have to show a little bit of caution with that. There can be a lot of hiccups and bumps on the road. You have to hope that his health cooperates, that his elbow or his shoulder don't get sore as he really ramps things up. But until that time maybe presents itself, I would imagine that Ian will continue pitching down in Northport for a couple more weeks and then eventually work his way to the minor leagues. And let's hope it would be a great story for Ian to make it all the way back. Of course, he is a postseason legend in Atlanta. And if he is able to make an impact this season or even in 2025, it would go a long way for the Braves.
Yeah, just to back you up, his last major league appearance was August 13th of 2022. That is almost 2 years ago. That's a long time. And while he, of course, was quite good when he first debuted and was pretty darn good in 2021, he was not good in 2022. And that was pre-injury, or at least, we would assume it's pre-injury. So I'm not saying it can't happen. I think that Ian obviously has talent. He was the number 3 overall pick in the draft for a reason, but we're on the same page there. I wouldn't assume anything And it'd be a nice surprise or a nice bonus if he were to be back in August or whatever in the majors and able to help them. But it can't hurt to have more depth. We'll see how that goes, and we'll obviously be keeping an eye on him as he progresses. Scott, before we get out of here, let us preview quickly the weekend series. Now, several caveats. We're recording this podcast on Wednesday afternoon, much earlier than we normally would, because there was an afternoon 12:20, aka 9:20 a.m. game today for Scott on the not even the West Coast out there in Arizona.
That's right.
The Braves are off on Thursday, as you referenced earlier. It's their last day off for quite a while, but also they're playing the Yankees this weekend. The Yankees have, as we're recording this, two more games before they play the Braves. So it's a little bit interesting. They play tonight and they also play on Thursday. So a lot of this can change. Keep that in mind. Also, just because people love this, Friday night's game is an Apple TV Plus exclusive. I know everyone loves those, right, Scott? All Braves fans love those games.
The reaction is always a little extreme. I will say, if you look around the internet, there are free codes for 3 months of Apple TV Plus all over the place.
And you always share them, which I think is a great thing that you do. You go find them and tweet. And it's not, by the way, this is not illegal. This is one of those like actually free, like legit promo code things. We're not saying go stream it illegally. We're saying you can actually go do this legit.
Yes, I think the $3 trillion company of Apple can probably afford a couple of free Apple TV Plus passes. So I will try to find that link and tweet it out on Friday at Scott Coleman 55 over there, and we'll retweet it and share it from the Hammer Territory Twitter account, which please follow that if you are not already. So you will have a way to watch. I know people naturally get a little frustrated not being able to watch it on television or on MLB TV. But I guess if you do have Xfinity in the Atlanta area,
I was actually going to say that there's an argument that it's actually easier to watch Apple TV games right now in Atlanta than it is games on Bally. But anyway, that's that. Also, Saturday night's game is a Fox national telecast. So it's Braves Yankees, two of the bigger brands in the sport. So they're trying to showcase that across Major League Baseball. But I gave the caveats about like how long and how much can change because the probables are out for both teams. The Braves are going to be sending Chris Sale, Charlie Morton, and Max Fried to the mound. Obviously, no holding back there. Three of their big four guns. And then on the Yankee side, they're actually, at least the Braves will probably, or we scheduled to miss both Garrett Cole and is it Gill? Is it Luis Gill? Like I never know how to say his name out loud.
I think so. Yeah, I need to familiarize myself with Luis Gill because he's like maybe the American League Cy Young winner if the year is over.
I've read about him quite a bit, and I don't think I've ever said his name. It might be Heel as I'm reading this now, so keep that in mind. Anyway, forgive that. But I've actually read all about him even before I realized he was pitching against the Braves because like you said, he's having this fantastic season. But anyway, they're going to miss those guys, at least according to the current probables as of Wednesday. It's Carlos Rodon, Marcus Stroman, and Nestor Cortez. Not a bad slate of pitchers for the Yankees. And just to say this out loud, Scott, the Yankees are awesome, unfortunately. Their record is very good. Their differential is very good. They have two legitimate superstars, although one of them might be hurt right now. Keep an eye on that. But what are you looking for this weekend?
Yeah, it should be a fun series in the Bronx. The Braves are clearly finding their groove and are playing much better. And they are not going to see New York's two best pitchers. You mentioned the Yankees have been good all season long, and they have not gotten a start out of Garrett Cole until today. So that kind of tells you where they are at without the reigning Cy Young winner, arguably the best pitcher in baseball the past couple of years. The lineup is very good. Aaron Judge is a maniac. Juan Soto is equally a maniac and a player who has just tormented Atlanta over the years. Aaron Judge did get hit on the hand last night in a game. Nothing was broken, but I guess it's possible he might miss a little bit of time. A good thing that it's not a serious injury, but you know what, Aaron? Take the weekend off, buddy. Make sure you play real careful, real cautious. Don't need to rush it against the Braves. A lot of baseball left. But, in some ways, a measuring stick game, a prime series between two very good teams. And let's hope that what the Braves were able to do over the last week or so is going to carry over. It's going to be a good time. And it is nice, I guess, that we are not getting Sunday night baseball, Brad, which I think we all don't love. It is an afternoon start on Sunday, which is kind of a surprise because of the markets of these two teams, but we will take that every single time.
Yeah, it's a trade-off of having the Friday night and Saturday night games beat national telecasts is that there's no ESPN on Sunday. So a nice, cozy warm blanket of an afternoon game on Sunday afternoon. And just to put a point on it, this is going to change before Friday, but the Yankees are currently, as we record this podcast, 51-24 this season. So I didn't say that out loud, but we were not exaggerating about how good they have played this season. In fact, they have the best record in baseball at this very moment, a full game ahead of the Phillies for that honor. And I believe they also lead the league in run differential at this moment. So we're not just gassing them up. They are very good. And hey, look, the Braves have been playing very well. 6 wins in the last 7 games. Vibes are improving, all of that. What you don't want to do is go get swept in New York. That would be rough. But I'm not expecting that, I wouldn't say. I'm not expecting a sweep on the other side either. But hey, if you want to keep rolling, Braves, if you want to look up on Sunday evening, and Scott and I can do a recap show of another sweep and 9 wins in the last 10, I would be very appreciative of that.
Yeah, baby. That would be awesome. You mentioned Chris Sale, Charlie Morton, Max Fried on the mound. I will take the Braves' chances, especially with Sale and Fried, anytime he can.
Come on. Oh, come on.
Whoa. I was going to get to your boy,
Charlie.
Charlie.
Come on. I'm just
Charlie Morton against Marcus Stroman, pretty equal, pretty even balanced pitching matchup. So it should be a great series. All eyes will be on New York. Again, anytime these two clubs get together, I think it just brings a little bit of buzz and excitement in the air. And yeah, let's hope the Braves can keep it rolling. If they could take the series in New York against a very good Yankees team, that would just continue to pour a little bit more fuel onto this fire. It would be a great way to start off this road trip here, because I believe they're in New York and then they go to St. Louis against an okay Cardinals team. And then they have that very random makeup game against the Chicago White Sox because it was a blizzard in Chicago in late March. Who could have seen that coming? And but yeah, a 7-game road trip on the horizon for the Braves, and a little bit of luck, keep this thing rolling, and let's get a couple of wins in New York.
Just a nice Thursday afternoon game in Chicago in a standalone fashion against the terrible White Sox. That'll be appointment viewing, I think, for everybody.
How many fans are going to be in that ballpark for a makeup Thursday afternoon South Side of Chicago baseball game?
I would imagine there are some Braves fans in Chicago that might make the trip, but yeah, I would say if it wasn't the Braves, it'd be even less. But there will not be a huge crowd at 3:10 local time on a Thursday.
Yeah, how many White Sox fans are going to be there?
Not many, I would guess. But we'll listen. If they want to prove me wrong, that's okay with me. But alas. Okay, Scott, let's get out of here. We'll try to keep it tidy. We went very long on Sunday night in our typical fashion, and probably do that again on Sunday. But we've managed to get out of here in reasonable time. Anything to plug at the end of this Wednesday afternoon podcast?
Not a ton to plug. I do just want to take a quick moment to thank everybody for all of the support for the show. We continue to get great feedback, and listeners are continuing to grow by the show, which we very, very much appreciate, especially coming over from the old network. So we appreciate it. Be sure to check out the good guys and gals at Foul Territory as well. They do great baseball content every single day. And as Brad said, we will be back with a show this weekend. I believe Steven and Sean are also going to record a show in the next couple of days. And hope everybody out there is doing well, and we'll be back soon.
That is the plan. So stay tuned for Steven and Sean. And then, as Scott mentioned, we'll be back on Sunday evening. Please go ahead and smash that subscribe button anywhere you might find podcasts. And if you want to do us a favor, you can do it multiple times. I know I currently am a subscriber to our podcast on 3 different platforms because, look, anything we have to do to support the podcast, we will go ahead and do that. So Apple, Spotify, Overcast. We're now on Amazon Music. And a lot of people have been asking about that. We are now there. If you can't find us before, we should be there now. So we're also on YouTube. Even though we're not recording this on video, you can find it on YouTube if you want to find the show on YouTube. So we're trying to get the podcast to everybody that wants to listen to it. So go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see everybody next time.